Chapter 33. This woman is so strange. When Han Yi saw Chu Shanyu arriving, he was taken aback. Why did she arrive just now? Could it be because she is challenging this alone? He thought she had already reached the summit earlier. It's her, Chu Shanyu, the eldest daughter of the Chu family. Upon seeing Gao Qiqing sizing Chu Shanyu up, Han Yi curiously asked, "What's the matter, brother Gao? Do you know her well?" He only heard of her once or twice in the Great Hall at Nurturing Heart Peak. It was said that this woman in the white dress is a genius, but he didn't know the specifics. Gao Qiqing nodded. The name Chu Shanyu is very famous in the north. Brother Gao, you indeed know everything. How do you know all these? Ironsmith Xiao Jin laughed out loud from the side. Gao Qiqing sighed and explained, "Although I have the reputation of being a wanderer from the north in the early days, I was nothing more than a down-and-out young man drifting from place to place, in no better state than a beggar. After I left home, I visited various famous teachers to learn swordsmanship, but no one was willing to teach me until I traveled to Fuyao State. The Chu family is a renowned family of sword cultivators in Fuyao State. Fuyao State, as a part of 9 heavens and 10 earths, is also known as the Land of Fuyao, ranking within the 10 earths. The region produces a plethora of famous sword cultivators, earning the reputation of wielding swords in Fuyao and dominating 9 states. Knocking on the door to immortality in Qingyun State, inquiring about the sword in Fuyao State. Both Qingyun State and Fuyao State are renowned places." While Gao Qiqing was explaining to everyone, Liu Linqi pointed at Chu Shanyu and the Zhu Owl on the other side, saying, "By the look of it, she seems to want to go straight up the mountain. Is she planning to ignore this Zhu Owl?" "No, this Zhu Owl understands human nature. It seems that it is not daring to provoke her." Han Yi shook his head, saying solemnly. Chu Shanyu nonchalantly walked halfway up the slope, sword in hand, while the Zhu Owl slowly backed off. "Who?" The Xui Owl bowed its head with its wings folded, extending its head tentatively, standing at the edge of the slope. Its call changed from an insolent howl to a low growl of warning. It seemed to sense the extraordinariness of Chu Shanyu. Even it did not want to provoke this woman. However, this was the situation Han Yi least wanted to see. If Chu Shanyu successfully ascended the mountain, the Zhu Owl would target them. People like Liu Linqi and Wang Daniu had not yet recovered their physical strength. If they were to fight the Zhu Owl at this time, they might be eliminated. Moreover, most importantly, he would not have the chance to pick up any attributes. So, the best situation at present would be to see Chu Shanyu and the Zhu Owl fight each other. They could take advantage of this to climb the mountain. Although it's not a chivalrous act, nor is it moral, but this is reality. Being chivalrous in the cultivation world is nothing but a joke, isn't it? Let's go, follow behind Chu Shanyu and together avoid the Zhu Owl. After some thinking, Han Yi made a decision. Will it really work? Liu Linqi voiced her doubt. How would we know if we don't try? Taking a deep breath, Han Yi carefully and quietly moved away, trying not to make a sound. However, with such a large group, how could the Zhu Owl not notice? "Who?" The Xui Owl directed a sharp scream towards Han Yi's direction, almost shattering people's eardrums. It seemed to say, "I let this lady in the white dress pass out of respect for her. What gives you the right to pass?" The Zhu Owl suddenly spread its wings, spat out white smoke from its beak, and condensed it into layers of ice crystals. The next second, a chill in the form of a blue frosted breath shot out, assaulting everyone. Shush! That chill hit them head-on. Chu Shanyu made her move. Her light figure, as if a fledgling swallow, took out the green sword from its sheath with her jade hand. Sent a humming tremor down the sword with a flick of her wrist. The sword tip flashed like a streak of light. An upward thrust of her sword, Chu Shanyu moved with the swift momentum of a lightning strike. The sword tip snaked like a white serpent, flicking its tongue, darting around like a roaming dragon, and hissing through the wind. Han Yi hardly believed that this delicate figure in white could possess such terrifying power. This was Chu Shanyu, whose cultivation strength had been sealed off. The chill was directly split in two. Seeing this, Zhu Owl didn't care who its opponent was. It spread its wings wide, stirring up an endless cold wind, intending to freeze everyone into ice chunks. Huff huff. Hanya covered his eyes to counter the strong wind. He comforted himself in his heart. No worry, Chu Shanyu will intervene. She is very strong. As he had anticipated, Chu Shanyu stood her ground, sword in hand, resolutely and defiantly. She accelerated once more, confronting the chilly wind without fear. She vowed to cut down the Zuowl with her sword. However, her dress was whipped up by the wind, the white veil fluttered along with her dooli hats and were blown away by the cold wind. As her black hair danced, her whole face was revealed. Her face was as delicate as goose feathers, her lips were like cherry blossoms, her eyebrows were as delicate as an ink painting, and her demeanor was as profound as autumn water, graceful and ethereal. A silver plum blossom hairpin adorned her hair. She was like a water hibiscus that just emerged from the water, untainted by the worldly dust. While Han Yi was amazed at her appearance. Suddenly, Chu Jianyu's figure twisted in midair. She was actually chasing after her white veil. This scene was unexpected for Han Yi and left him flabbergasted. Hoo-hoo! Seeing Chu Shanyu turn her back and seemingly flee in disarray, the Zuowl immediately flew into a rage. He chased after her. 3 blasts of frosty chill were released in succession. It prevented her from remaining in the air. After landing, Chu Shanyu held her sword in her right hand, but her other hand was tightly clenched as she hurried to shield her face with her sleeve. Seeing this, Han Yi was completely baffled. It's just a dooli hat. What's the big deal if it's lost? Why is she refusing to fight? Chu Shanyu, adopting this defensive posture, faced off against Zuowl. Her combat strength dropped more than 80%, continuously retreating, utterly unable to resist Zuowl's attack. Han Ye's hopes were dashed. Instead, they were in a precarious situation. The people around them were also confused, discussing amongst themselves. How come she can't fight as well after revealing her face? What's going on? Could that veil be a magic treasure which enhances her strength? Are you dumb? The elder already said that no magic treasure can enter the 3rd challenge. It's impossible. That's really strange then. Han Yi looked at the veil hanging from a dead branch on the cliffside, deep in thought. She isn't ugly, so why does she need to cover her face? Can she only fight when she has the veil on? Are there people like this? Even if there are, what's the reason? No matter what, Chu Shanyu had to regain her fighting prowess. Han Yi pondered for a moment, then decided to recover the veil. Otherwise, they would be eliminated right here. He leaped swiftly, climbing to the cliffside, scaling almost 20 meters up the rock face. The people below looked on, puzzled and concerned, exclaiming, "Brother Han, what are you doing? The rock face is too dangerous. There will be falling rocks. Come down quickly." Han Yi ignored the warnings. All he wanted was to retrieve the veil. There was a huge gap before him that he needed to cross. With dragon and tiger breath consolidated on his feet, he took a mighty leap and finally reached below where the veil was. On his tiptoes, he could just about reach it. At last, he retrieved it. Whoosh! At that moment, the rocks beneath his feet became loose. He suddenly slipped, plummeting downwards. The fall was about 20 meters high. Fortunately, he was able to grip a low-hanging branch of a tree to buffer the impact of his fall. Down on the ground, Dan Niu did not hesitate and went straight up to catch Han Yi. "Brother Han, what on earth are you?" Han Yi didn't have time to explain. Instead, he directly called out to Chu Shanyu, "Catch!" Chu Shanyu made a move to seize the dooli and the veil. But she was caught by Zuowl, who let out a roar and charged straight at her. Han Yi dashingly stepped forward. Instantly a bag appeared from his sleeves, and he threw something out with all his might. A dense cloud of gray material obscured this area's line of sight, kicking up a wave of black smoke. Gurg! As Zuowl punctured through the cloud, he let out a pained scream. His body screeching to a halt as he slammed into a large tree and seemed disoriented. It seemed as if he could not see the path before him. The crowd was shocked, exclaiming, "It's Bland Ash! Brother Han, you've outsmarted us all!" Carpenter Li Chong couldn't help but sigh. But as Chu Shanyu received the item from Han Ye's hand, he saw a trace of panic in Chu Jianyu's eyes. He finally understood. The strongest people have their weaknesses too. Once she donned the dually, her demeanor transformed. The flustered air disappeared, replaced by a killing intent and a calm confidence. She gripped the sword, seemingly holding a grudge against Zual. It was like seeing a different person compared to her earlier panic. The invincible Chu Shanyu was back. She danced with her sword, her agile body in midair, and her jet-black hair wafting with the movements of the sword. In an instant, the sword was unleashed. Han Yi couldn't see anything with the naked eye, only heard the crisp clash of the sword chiming, followed by a sudden dragon hum as the sword sliced through the air. When he opened his eyes again, the Zual before him had been halved by the sword. Its head was severed. Whoosh! An esteemed, mysterious purple glow fell from Chu Jianyu's body. Han Yi was startled. It was actually a purple attribute. Obtained attribute, Sword Art Mastery 1. Sword Art Mastery Purple, Innate Sword Cultivator, Mastery in all sword techniques, perfect in all aspects, aim to kill with one strike,